And we're recording. Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Sam Sugar from AAAPG in the next of our series of victim videos. This particular video is extremely unusual, but extremely important. We have with us today Joanna Bougalis, who is joining us from Greece, where she was forced to leave the United States and escape a guardianship. Joanna, welcome. And maybe you want to introduce yourself and that beautiful young lady to your right.
Thank you. I'm Joanna Bougalis, and this is my mother, Catherine Bougalis.
Yeah. And let's not reveal your exact location for obvious reasons. Tell us about this guardianship and when it started.
The guardianship started about 4 years after my father passed away in 2014. During those years, there was a lot of family conflict, and now 4 years later, my mom has the same diagnosis that she had previous to the guardianship.
But your mom is living with you and doing just fine, is that correct?
She's doing.
Yeah, we're having some internet problems, obviously.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and your mom is doing okay, right?
How are you doing?
Okay. Now, family dysfunction is always the way to open the door to these guardianships. Who was arguing in your family?
My two younger brothers, after my father died, went after my mother, and me and my older brother were against what they were doing.
And was this action on their part motivated by concern for your mother or something else?
No, it was motivated by financial greed.
By greed, which of course we hear constantly. This began in the States, and you've written a long article on our website describing your story, and I would refer anybody to that webpage, AAAPG.net, to hear your entire story. But what I'd like to know, and for our viewers to know, is what did this guardianship actually accomplish for your mom?
Well, had we not left the United States, my mother wouldn't be alive today. They drugged her, they isolated her, they stole her entire fortune, and currently she's living off of my retirement income. She has nothing.
Now, you are a retired military, correct? And disabled military, correct? Mm-hmm. What's your military history?
I was both in the U.S. Marines and in the U.S. Army, and I spent 10 years in the service.
And thank you for your service to our country. And yet, a judge has seen fit, and lawyers in that courtroom have seen fit to defame you. Is that correct? And call you every name they can think of?
They have, and additionally, in my background, I have a master's in social work, and they just didn't give any value to that either.
I see. In the courtroom proceedings, before the guardianship began, did the court send you adequate notification of the guardianship? That's called due process. Did that happen?
It did, but we were in such a family feud that we were beyond being able to stop it from happening.
Okay.
The court insiders, let me just say, the court insiders, the attorneys all had it rigged, if you will.
All planned out from the beginning so that they would win and everybody else would lose. We hear this all the time as well. What's been the impact on your mom's health and on your health for these nearly a decade of guardianship?
It's definitely taken its toll. You know, mom is pretty strong and she's recovered quite a bit, but I think the effects on her are similar to, if I can say this, being confined as a POW. When you get out of confinement, you're never the same. So she does have the emotional and psychological scars from this happening. Physically, she's very strong and on no medications, and her diagnosis is back to what it was previous to this guardianship.
So you're pretty convinced that during the guardianship, your mom deteriorated. You're convinced that she deteriorated during the guardianship.
Significantly.
And that was reversed when she got out of when she escaped from the guardianship.
Yes, yes.
That's an amazing story because, as you know, hardly anybody escapes. The story of your, I guess there's no other better word to use than escape, is amazing. Do you want to share a little of that you can safely?
Well, our escape was out of sheer desperation. Had we not left when we did, we would have never seen each other again. Mom and I were calling the police several times. We had adult protective service reports stating that the guardian and the judge and the doctor and the facility were abusive, and yet under the law they had no power to help us or do anything. And so the guardian threatened the police that he was going to get a court order so my mother would never leave the facility again. And he blamed her inability to adjust to the facility because she would leave for a couple hours a day with me. And it was all a lie.
So they made up every excuse possible to vilify you, make you look like the bad guy, which is, of course, what we hear all the time, irrespective of the impact on your mother, who was supposed to be the beneficiary of this wonderful guardianship. Did your mother, well, let me put it a different way. How much money was taken from your mother's estate as a result of this protection from the court?
Well, who really knows? Because we're not even given access to what's happening with her estate. We found out by chance what her 2017 income was, but we don't know.
Would you say it's in the millions, I presume?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What are you and your mother living on now?
My VA disability.
Was she able to get her Social Security payments back to her, away from the guardian?
We got it away from the guardian through the embassy, but then the guardian, I believe, intervened, and it was taken away again. So now it's another waiting game. So she's back to zero. No medical care, nothing. Everything is out of my disability check. And we lost everything, both of us.
You had multiple residences.
Yes.
You were living a beautifully, very nice lifestyle, as I understand it.
Yes, yes, I was. And my mother was, and we were living in Arizona together after we escaped Minnesota the first time. Yeah. And then we run back into Minnesota and then had to escape again to Greece.
And the reason that you were able to escape out of the country to where you are now, how did you pull that off?
Well, fortunately, we both have Greek citizenship. But when we left with nothing. All we had is our driver's license, and we didn't have passports. And so, excuse me. Okay.
You're fine.
Okay. We didn't have our passports, so we were also afraid to call the U.S. Embassy because of the implied power of the guardian. Eventually, we got pushed into a corner, and we felt that we were going to get caught. And somebody recommended I just call the embassy. And when I called the embassy, we were given emergency passports, which is usually only given if you're going for a funeral.
Which you might have had to go to if you stayed in the United States.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And we bought our tickets. Well, our relatives bought our tickets from Greece in our Greek names.
So the reason you were able to save your mother's life and to save yourself from the oppression of the judge who was out to get you, it sounds like, and your family, is because you had dual citizenship.
That's the only reason. Otherwise, we would have been caught, I'm sure.
Isn't that amazing? Now, even today, you're still a little bit in fear of this process, correct?
We are. We never, we stay in the house most of the time. If we do leave, we leave together. and we're always looking over our shoulders.
That must have an incredibly terrible impact on you. How is your health?
My health has gone downhill significantly as a result.
And you're disabled to begin with, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, you know, when I do these interviews and I do these stories, I just sometimes say, how on earth is this happening in the United States of America? What is wrong with our system? What do you think, I mean, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you change about this system?
Well, I think we need to protect people before they get bombarded and ransacked into guardianship, because what's happening today is anybody can go into a courtroom and say, like what happened to my mother, in a 4-month period, her diagnosis was changed from mild cognitive impairment to severe dementia with severe behavior issues.
When nothing had changed.
Nothing had changed. And even 4 years later, she has the same initial diagnosis that she had. So I think what needs to happen is laws need to be in place, not just state by state, but nationwide, that say, you know, you have to have, for example, 3 doctors' opinions before a guardianship can take place. You have to have 2 to 3 mental health opinions before a guardianship can take place, a functional assessment. All of those things were denied my mother. Further testing for this purported dementia was denied my mother. And basically, she was just used like a puppet in this system, and there's no safeguards.
And there's no one to complain to.
There's no one to complain to. And whoever we complain to, and I have to say, we went to politicians, attorney generals in both Minnesota and Arizona. We went to human rights and civil rights organizations, world organizations, attorneys. Nobody would help us. But I do have to say, John McCain, and rest in peace, he did take steps to try and help us.
And that's good to hear, because many of us are complaining and going to talk to our elected officials in Washington because we feel that there's no likelihood that the states will reform themselves. And the only hope we have of making this any better is through the federal government. And that's going on right now. We're going to have an event in Florida soon for the general public as well as for victims of guardianship. What would you say to someone who doesn't know anything about guardianship, but let's say is living in somebody like you used to be? What would you tell them?
I would say that if you're wealthy, or let me add this, if you have healthy organs, because people are put into guardianship for organs as well, the big business, take your money when you retire and renounce your citizenship and leave the United States. Be careful not to go to a country that could also do this, because this is happening worldwide. And I think if enough people were to renounce citizenship, because this is all based on money, if they renounce citizenship, these wealthy people like my mother, and the US government loses enough taxes, maybe then somebody will listen, because nobody listens to the suffering of human beings. It appears that they only listen when money is involved.
How sad and how tragically true. Joanna, it's really an honor to see you with your mom. I'm thrilled that your mom is doing well. And if I knew how to speak Greek, I would give her a greeting in Greek for a happy holiday season, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and many, many years together.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to do the best I can.
Thank you so much, and wonderful to talk to you.
Thank you, Dr. Sugar. We both